Hello, testing 1, 2. Welcome everyone to Community Unit School District 203.
that would be my nice. Maybe jump between them occasionally. I would say maybe jump between the two. Because this will get most of them on to that end, and this will get the ones that
I think we had about 7, 8.
usually they just go in front of the sign, so their main shot.
Right. If they stay right in front of the sign, I'm good this way. But this is from one of the stations now with the other camera system.
You can move it instead of but then you gotta remember all this preset. You gotta be really on the ball. It's not just really you've gotta be
A couple of our board members are having their official portraits taken right behind us, so just a couple more minutes, please. Thank you for your patience.
My cables. Those network ones that I'm streaming on.
bigger. They're even getting bigger pipe. So.
We have the promise that it's 2 minutes. Thanks again for your indulgence. Out of closed session. I'm sorry. Since 5 p.m. this evening, our board has been in closed session with discussions of lawfully closed meeting minutes, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, and dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel for the district, collective negotiating matters between the district and its employees and their representatives, litigation when an agent against, affecting, or on behalf of a particular district has been filed or is pending before a court or administrative tribunal. With that, I would like to come out of I'm sorry.
Oh, so moved.
So
Second.
moved, yes. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay. And I want to welcome everyone and welcome you if you're watching streaming live from our homepage in the World Wide Web, or if you're here in person. Thank you so much for coming. And to mention our mission is to educate students to be self-directed learners, collaborative workers, complex thinkers, quality producers, and community contributors. And with that, I will ask, in perfect timing there, to do a roll call, please. How about that?
Board members present: Donna Wanke, Susan Price, Terry Fielden, Jackie Romberg, Kristen Fitzgerald, Susan Crotty, and Mike Yench.
Great, thank you. And one of the most exciting parts of all of our meetings is when the students come, and these are the students from Prairie Elementary School, and their very abled administrator, Mrs. Porter, is with them.
Thank you. We have some third grade students and some fifth grade students from Prairie Elementary, and they're going to introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Mac Omias from Prairie Elementary, and I'm in third grade.
Hello, I'm Gabe Ryan. I'm a third grader at Prairie Elementary.
Hello, I'm Kyle Folsheim. I'm in third grade at Prairie Elementary.
Hello, I'm Jack Minus. I'm a fifth grader at Prairie Elementary.
Hello, I'm Tyler Folsheim. I'm a fifth grader at Prairie Elementary.
Thank you, gentlemen. Go ahead and face the flag and go ahead and start.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Stage fright.
Nice job, boys. I know.
Thank you.
Do you want the screen down?
That's the best. Okay. Now we're going to move on, and I will ask our superintendent. Our next category is good news.
Would you like to do a good news introduction before I do the good news, or do you want to do that as the last recognition?
Okay, I will do this. I thought this was going to happen with the when we do the reps, but I get it. We have a gentleman from Naperville Central High School that will fill the role next year as the ambassador. We have an ambassador from both high schools that come and represent the high school's interests and what's going on in their buildings. And Stephen Trainer is here from Naperville Central, and he will say hello to you, but he is going to leave because he has to study for finals. And so we're encouraging him to say hello and to leave. So anyhow, thank you, Stephen. We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome, and I'm looking forward to a great year next year with you guys.
Great, thank you.
Appreciate it.
And please, whenever you want to depart, we certainly understand. So,
Certainly understood.
the rest of the good news. Take care, and good luck.
Good luck on finals, Stephen. Not only do I have some good news, we have some great news tonight, and for the first one, I'm gonna ask Assistant Superintendent for elementary education, Kitty Ryan, to assist me with this, so she'll come to the front. Mr. Olenek, teacher at Steeple Run, was unable to be here with us tonight, so I'm not sure which or if any of our students were able to join us. But third, fourth, and fifth grade Project Idea Plus students from Steeple Run Elementary School participated in the Illinois Council of Teachers of Mathematics contest. The contest consists of students taking 6 tests throughout the year, 3 team and 3 individual. The third grade honors math students, taught by Deb Wang, finished first in the entire state of Illinois. I don't know, is Ms. Wang here? I didn't see her either, okay? And fourth and fifth grade honors math students, taught by Matt Olenek, defended their first place title from last year and were the top teams in the state again for the second year in a row. The students were excited about outscoring other schools in the district as well as private gifted schools. So congratulations on a job well done, and I'd invite any of the students who might be here with us today to come forward. Ms. Ryan will give you a certificate, and I'll ask you to introduce yourself. So please come on forward.
He's representing his school. Look at this. I love it.
You get the whole stack. I think this is also a special introduction. I might suspect that there's a parent in the room, so I'll ask this young man to introduce himself. Why don't you tell us your name and your school?
I'm Alan Wanke from Steeple Run.
Congratulations.
Oh, very cute. That's great.
So we have certificates that we'll send to Steeple Run for all of the students that were on the team. More great news, and invite Kevin Pops, the principal, to come forward, and Liz Brucker and Mark Rousey of Naperville North High School to join me in presenting the next good news, and congratulations. Congratulations go to the Naperville North Worldwide Youth in Science and Engineering team, who won the state championship at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign competition on April 8. The students took timed tests in the subjects of chemistry, math, computer science, biology, English, and engineering graphics. Special congratulations to Nathan Lindquist, who earned first place in both chemistry and English, which earned him a $4,000 scholarship to the U of I should he decide to attend the School of Engineering program. So Liz and Mark are co-sponsors, and I'd invite them, along with Kevin, to make any additional comments and invite up our students who are here with us tonight.
I do want to say that the WICE competition, the Worldwide Youth in Science and Engineering competition, is the premier science and engineering competition in the state of Illinois. The two coaches that we have with us, head coach Liz Brucker and Mark Rousey, assistant, are outstanding science teachers in a very strong science department. I would like Liz to describe what the structure of the competition is. And I did not warn her.
No, he did not. What the students do is they take 2 multiple choice tests in 7 subject areas. So the subject areas are chemistry, biology, physics, math, computer science, engineering graphics, and English. And so we take our top students and ask them to study for these tests, and they go to regional competitions, sectional competitions, and then we went to state, where we placed in first place.
We have 7 of the students with us this evening, and I'd like to introduce them. Jeff Chow. I didn't care if you shook my hand. I cared that he shook yours. Brandon Coy. Congratulations, Brandon. Kim Dauber. Congratulations, Kim. Naman Priyadarshi. Andrew Tennis. Congratulations, Andrew. Brian Trong. Congratulations. And Sebastian Wagner. The other members of the team who aren't with us this evening were Carrie Cicerati, Max Drabinski, Allison Hollatz, Benny Lee, Nathan Lindquist, Grace Ng, and Graham Novak. I think it's also important for you to know that Naperville North beat Neuqua Valley 4-3 in the sectional soccer game this evening.
Parents, you are welcome to step right inside.
We have multiple cameras that they can all see. Thank you so much. Great work. Is that for good news? Whatever. Okay, the next part of our agenda is public comment. We'll let the people that have to get on with their evenings get on with their evening. And just if anyone hasn't filled out a form or didn't know to fill out a form that are in the front, please grab one, and if not, we'll just indicate that you'd like to speak. And if you're an individual, you have 3 minutes. And if you're representing a group, 5 minutes. And when you come up to this area right here at this table, if you can just mention your name and address for the record. Thanks so much. In the order I've received them, Carol Higgins is our first speaker. Sorry, Carol, I should have switched the order there, right? You get a lot done. You're a big multitasker, I know that. So, your name and address, please. Thanks.
Is it on now? I'll start over. Okay, I'm Carol Higgins. I live at 133 Tamarack Avenue here in Naperville. I am a teacher at Lincoln Junior High School. Been here for a long time, been a resident even longer. And I was recently on the negotiating committee, but I've also been on other committees. And I wanted to take a second to say how incredibly excited I am about the era of cooperation that I feel has been happening between the teachers, union, administration, and staff. We are entering into a time that is extremely complicated as far as protecting public education. And I see it more needed, that cooperation, even more now than I did like when my kids went to school. Things seemed to be simpler, you know, back in the 1980s and 90s. And I think that we're going to need to continue that cooperation. And I'm really excited to be part of that. And I just wanted to say thank you from myself as a community member, because to me, part of being in Naperville is the great education. I mean, I can't tell you how wonderful it is to be in a community where when you go other places, you can say, yeah, I'm from Naperville, and people go, oh, they have a great school system. So I just wanted to say thank you as a community member, and, you know, just also know that we are all understanding how important that cooperation is going to continue to be as state and federal changes occur. We've got some trying times ahead of us. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The next speaker, Mark Bailey. You breakfast with the Mark Bailey, right? Is your microphone on? I know you know the drill.
I believe it is.
Okay, great.
My name is Mark Bailey. I'm the president of the Naperville Unit Education Association, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the organization. 3 years ago, the school board of District 203 sat down with the leadership of the Naperville Unit Education Association with the charge to take a look at the professional growth plan in the Naperville public schools with 4 major purposes in mind. The first was the improvement of teaching in the schools. The second, the enhancement of the caliber and reputation of the professional staff. The third was the promotion of high morale of the professional staff. And the fourth, the advancement of the educational profession. We have accomplished these goals and more with Career 203 and with the tentative agreement that you have before you this evening. We have presented the tentative agreement to our membership, and they have approved it. I cannot tell you how excited I am for the educators and the students we serve as we begin this innovative approach to the professional growth within this new contract. This has been a thoughtful, collaborative, and thoroughly professional process. I want to thank the Career 203 committee, comprised of 6 educators and 6 administrators, for their commitment and dedication to this endeavor. I want to thank the negotiations team for their collaboration and insight in the process of folding all the moving parts into the negotiated contract. And I want to thank you, the board, for your shared vision and support as we put this all together. I look forward to our continued collaborative work together as we meet the needs of our students, and our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that wishes to make a public comment that didn't have a chance to fill out the form? Okey doke. Thank you very much. Okay, communications is next, and this is normally where we talk. Our student ambassadors speak, and as you know, our student ambassador for next year is on his way home to study for finals, and this is the time they would normally speak. I think most of you can see in board docs there's some written communications if you'd like to read through those in board docs, and the next thing we'll move to is superintendent's school report.
Thank you. I'd like to take this opportunity to update the Board of Education on the status of the multi-district virtual school application that the Board of Education had received and declined at your April 15th meeting. So last Wednesday, the Illinois Charter School Commission met in Chicago, and one of their agenda items was to consider a request that was made by Virtual Learning Solutions, the applicant in the multi-district virtual school, to consolidate all 18 of the appeals from the 18 different districts into one. So after public comment, discussion, and deliberation by the Commission in closed session, the Commission ultimately agreed with our position that each district, based on its own unique and individual characteristics, was entitled to its own interview with the Commission and its own public hearing. So as a result of that, yesterday I participated in a 2-hour conference call with the Executive Director of the Illinois State Charter School Commission, representatives of many of the districts, legal counsel for districts, and legal counsel for Virtual Learning Solutions. And the purpose of that call was to review and discuss the timeline and procedures for hearing the appeals. So the Board of Education, you've received in your backup material, and it is in public documents in board docs, the timeline, the tentative draft timeline. The Commission will take into consideration then, in addition, the conversation that was had yesterday by the parties, and will very soon release details regarding the time of our interview and our public hearing. So part of the conversation yesterday was to kind of come to some agreement among the 18 districts when and where the interviews held by the Commission of the district and the public hearings would take place. So as soon as the Commission finalizes those, I'll communicate those not only with the board but with the whole community. And you'll note from the timeline that the Commission is scheduled to reach its decision by July 16th, 2013. Timing is interesting because as soon as I finished the conference call yesterday, very shortly afterward, before I left the call to head to a meeting at Central, I was very happy to receive a call from State Senator Mike Connolly. And Senator Connolly called to inform me that the Senate had just voted 46-7 to approve House Bill 494, which was already approved in the House, which would put a 1-year moratorium on the virtual charter schools. This bill would now go to the governor for signature. And based on the conversation that we had yesterday with the Commission, the understanding is that once this is signed, this appeal process would be stopped. So we certainly are hoping that the process continues with HB 494 as has been, and it's signed. So
can you repeat that? That if the appeal
our understanding yesterday in the phone conversation was that the appeal process would end if HB 494 it becomes law.
If the governor signs.
Yeah, that's correct. Okay.
But does that end the application, or would they restart this process?
It puts a moratorium on there for a year.
I know.
Yeah, so that it would. That's a great question, and we'll have to seek an answer for that one. Yes, I don't have an answer for that for you right now, so we'll get that.
Because what?
Right, I understand.
We'd heard first was that they were going to go ahead just to have it over and done with, because the moratorium doesn't stop this application, although it certainly could change the application considerably.
So that was my understanding yesterday, and we'll make sure that we have clarity on that. But certainly, I think the moratorium certainly is something that we have asked for.
Absolutely.
Representative Senator Connolly have understood and responded to the needs of our community and have actually co-sponsored in both houses this bill, so we're thankful for that. Board Member Price and Bob Ross, and I know Mark Bailey, were in attendance at the Commission meeting last week. I don't know if there's anything from that you'd care to contribute in addition to what I've said, or no need to?
Yeah, a couple things. One question, well, I don't know if it's been determined for the moratorium. Who will be, the purpose of the moratorium is to review the charter school guidelines in consideration of virtual charter schools, and then these group applications to refine that. Who will be reviewing the guidelines? Has that been clarified?
Not clarified yet. No.
Okay. Okay. So we went to the meeting last week in a small fluorescent lit room in a government building on LaSalle Street, and we were joined by Lori Price and other representatives from District 204 who have worked very hard on this as well. It is interesting to me that, with the exception of a school district in Batavia, we were the only board members representing our community, and we believe that it was the voices of our community and that did help influence that. We'd like to believe, certainly. We spent 4 hours doing it, that we were able to influence it. But I think that the commission seemed like very reasonable people, and they listened very well. I've been on both sides of this process, and I think that they seemed very sincere, earnest people who were trying to do the best thing in this situation, and certainly my opinion is that they did, in this situation, do the best thing. And then I just want to express my thanks to everybody who phoned, legislators who phoned in witness slips. When I was in Springfield several weeks ago at the Education Committee, 19 of the 23 witness slips they read off were from Naperville. When you ask this community rise up and speak their voice, they do. That is quite an honor, and I'm so delighted to be part of this community. But thank you to Darlene Sanger and to Michael Connolly, to our representatives, for being wonderful representatives of our community.
I think in addition to that, in addition to thanking them, which I agree, absolutely, they were fantastic representatives, they were our voice and helped to ensure the passage, is what a great partnership that we had in communication and in utilizing them as our advocates. And I think that's very positive, and hopefully as this process goes forward, as they're developing the questions that we have about the moratorium and the studies that are going to be ongoing, potentially we could continue those partnerships and hopefully be very well represented there and get our voice across in that process as well.
Sounds good. Go ahead, Susan.
Dan, I'm just curious, the cost that we've incurred going through this fire drill, is it possible to request from either the State Charter School Commission or K-12 remuneration for that?
I believe they've been compliant to this point with what's within the law. So the application that has come forward, I think, is a legal application. So to this point, I'm not certain if that's the desire of the board. That's something that we can explore. But there has been considerable amount of staff time, legal costs in terms of investigating this application and responding to. So we can look into that if that's the interest.
It's certainly an interesting number to be able to inform people about in the process. Certainly an interesting number to inform our legislators and the legislature about the cost of going through this kind of process and the time, both in person hours and in actual.
One of the more vivid recollections I have of the entire process was the night we had the cabinet who had put hours into it, and then we had a whole row of staff members who had contributed to amount of time that went into researching the application and evaluating the application as something whether or not we would recommend to the Board of Education. So certainly a considerable amount of hours went into that.
And I just want to thank you, Susan, for your time and efforts and coordinating and time away trying to speak for our community. Thank you. I don't have a report, and we will go to Board of Education reports. Does anyone have a report that they would like to mention tonight? Anything not particularly? Okay. Our monthly reports that are included in board docs, if anybody in the community wants to look at them, which include the Treasury report, investment report, insurance report, and budget report. And from there, I will turn this over to Board Member Price and Fitzgerald, who had the monthly duty. We take turns on a monthly basis to go through bills, and we call it Bills and Claims Review. That's done on a monthly basis, and other things that are in bills and claims, and there's a few other things in that consent agenda. So, Susan.
I move approval of warrant number 378513 through warrant number 379627, totaling $18,224,389.98 for the period of April 16, 2013 to May 22, 2013, and items number 8.02 through 8.04 and 8.06 and 8.07, pulling item 8.05 off the consent agenda. So I move approval of those as presented.
Second. Okay. We have a motion and a second and discussion. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. No, sorry about that. We have a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda 8.01 through 8.04, excluding 8.05, which was pulled, varsity baseball press box, and including 8.06 and 8.07. And I will look to Ms. Bell for roll call. Thank you.
Robert?
Yes.
Yench?
Aye.
Fitzgerald? Prati?
Yes.
Wonky?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Fielden?
Yes.
Motion carries. The next agenda item, 8.05.
So at one of our previous Board of Education meetings, I had actually asked that this item be pulled from a consent agenda. And then looking at it tonight, it made sense that when we were bringing it back, that the board make sure that, I come back to the Board of Education about some of the factors that we were looking into regarding this specific topic. So one of the things we were looking into is the consistency of the recommendation for work itself, and that does it fit into the overall site plan at Central. So I've had an opportunity to review that, meet with Steve Mathis, meet with Dave Zager to talk about the project and find that it is consistent with our overall site plan. To take a look at some of the work that's being recommended on the press box itself, which includes face brick, roof and soffit, new windows and doors, concrete and water service changes, and some interior work, which is to finish building and construction of walls that are inside, paint and replace counters, and some other things that have become worn and aged inside the facility. Another thing that we wanted to do is to make sure that we were consistent in terms of application of such updates at each of our facilities, at each of our high school facilities. And so I've had an opportunity to sit down and look through work that's being done both at Central and at North High Schools, and then specifically at some of the items related to such as press boxes and other athletic facilities. And Mr. Mathis has shared with me some of the things that are planned out over, so I'll kind of hit on some of those things because we see this. These are not coming to you in a consent agenda, or you have already approved them in a consent agenda, but some of these projects you haven't seen yet and may not be aware of them because they're below the requirement, the bid requirement, because there are multiple projects that add up. So some of the things that are being done that you wanted to make sure at North High School was the replacement that we've already approved, replacement of HVAC units, and air conditioning, science rooms, and new casework, heating pipe replacement, the renovation of the football press box, renovation of the band and chorus areas that will include filling in sound panels and ceilings and floors, south section of the football field fence being replaced with black wrought iron, metal skirting to the front of the visitors' bleachers, and then some other additional items that are being scheduled for this summer. Concrete patios with benches outside the baseball batting cages at North, concrete walks and pads around the baseball press box, raising the baseball dugout roofs, portable outfield fence for the girls softball stadium, replace and enlarge one of the stadium ticket booths, and then over the next 5 years, planned work includes complete heating piping replacement, renovating the varsity baseball field and press box, renovating the girls softball field and press box, locker room renovation and updates, and some other work in the building. So I'm comfortable with the work that I've observed to ensure that facilities are held on the same standard, on a same high standard that we set as a district, that are not dictated to us by other lease agreements or outside groups, that these are to the standard that we set. So it's my recommendation that you'd approve the work at Central this evening.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion for that, please.
I move approval of item 8.05, varsity baseball press box work at Naperville Central High School, as presented.
Second.
Great, thank you. I have a motion and a second for agenda item 8.05, varsity baseball press box work at Naperville Central High School, and it was a part of the consent agenda. So I'll ask for a roll call, please. Ann, thank you.
Price?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Yench?
Aye.
Fitzgerald? Wonky?
Yes.
Fielden?
Yes.
Prati?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. The next item on our agenda, 9.01, budget discussion. It's a huge part of our work as board members, close to $260 million. And we had some discussion about this at our last meeting, and we will continue to talk about it at our 2 meetings in June, with final approval on June 17th. And so the questions, a number of board members asked individual questions of our CFO, Dave Zager, offline, and then Dave has prepared some presentations and has a presentation this evening as well. So again, this is a kind of a multi-meeting agenda item. So Dave, please go ahead.
Sure, thank you, Mrs. Romberg. I'm going to start out with just the schedule for the budget. As has been reviewed already, on May 6th we introduced the tentative budget. It is on display on our website and also at all of the libraries within Naperville, and then hard copies available at our main office here as well. So if anyone from the public should wish to look at the budget, they can do so at those sites or go to our website and look at it there. We have a couple of board meetings where we can have some discussion on the budget, and then the schedule indicates that the board would have, at the board meeting on June 17th, we would have a public hearing, and then at the conclusion of the public hearing, we would ask the Board of Education to approve the budget. Now, legally, the Board of Education may approve that budget through September 30th, so we do have some leniency in that time frame as well going forward. Next slide, please. Some of the highlights for the budget are included on the facing page of the budget document itself, but I'll go through a couple of the key ones right now. The operating budget, which is excluding the capital budget and the debt service, is about $243.7 million, which is about 4% higher than last year. Now, we have some additional items in the budget that aren't consistent with the operations from last year, so those are add to that budget. We have certain one-time expenditures, such as some of the projects that are going in the budget. I know Roger's going to cover the wireless network upgrade, which is one of the major ones. If you exclude those projects, the increase is about 3.2%. We also are starting all-day kindergarten at 7 of our elementary buildings. That additional expense was not incurred last year, so it adds about $1 million to our budget. And it's about, if one excludes that expense, there'd be about a 2.8% increase in the budget. So comparing apples to last year. State funding is assumed to decline by 7%. That's consistent with Governor Quinn's address for the budget. The average tax bill to school district taxpayers is going up 3%. And they received their first tax bill in May. It's due June 1st. Our financial projection for the district indicates balanced budgets for the next 6 years. That includes the assumptions that are described within the budget and could change if some of those assumptions change into the future as well. Next slide. Some of the key budget impacts. I already mentioned all-day kindergarten. It'll be implemented at Beebe, Mill, Naper, Ellsworth, Elmwood, Scott, and River Woods. The capital budget includes an upgrade to the district wireless network system in our schools. That's being done to upgrade both the bandwidth and the speed of service. We are also budgeting for construction of a gymnasium addition at Elmwood and Prairie schools, a multi-purpose room at Steeple Run, and classroom additions or remodeling at Ranchview, Naper, and Ellsworth schools. Those are to help accommodate the all-day kindergarten program as well. Our certified staffing is increased by 10.8 full-time equivalent. That's consistent with our enrollment and our program change, chiefly the all-day kindergarten, which by itself would be about 11.5 FTE increase. This chart kind of describes how our expenses are broken down within our budget. Our greatest expense, as you would expect, is the student instruction, which is about 8% higher than average in Illinois. We spend about 9% of our budget on administration. That includes our buildings, such as principals, secretaries, deans, etc., and our central administration services. That includes payroll, human resources, and insurance. About 11% of our budget is on maintenance of our building and grounds. About 5% is on transporting students, and about 11% on other student services. This would include food services, which are fully paid by students who purchase their lunch, guidance, health, psychological services, speech services, and social workers. So overall, our expenditure broken out is designed such that student instructional services is the vast and overwhelming majority of our expenditures. And I don't know if the Board of Education has any questions at this time. Certainly we have other opportunities between now and the next meeting if you have any individual questions. And at our next meeting, we'll also have the budget on the agenda as well.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions, colleagues? Any questions for Dave now or later?
It's not really a question, it's just more of a statement. Just highlighting, I think, as we look at that budget increase for all-day kindergarten, pardon? Oh, the most important, sorry, just the fact that, sorry. Just the fact that I think that this is a worthy investment for our community. Many of us have been participating with Dan in the Future Focus effort with our community to engage our community, and I think one of the biggest surprises to our community was the extent to which we have a growing population of students who are socioeconomically disadvantaged, and it's 11%. And I think when we look at that all-day kindergarten expense, that is where we are making the investment, is to say these kids are they're lagging behind their peers in terms of academic achievement, and this is something that's going to address that. And I think, instead of us spending our resources throughout their academic career helping to bring them up to speed, all-day kindergarten, the research is really clear that it will increase their achievement right at the beginning, start them off with success right at the beginning. So I think that that's something that our community is very committed to doing, is making sure that all of our students have success. And I just wanted to highlight that in terms of the importance of that investment. And of course, there's lots of different things in this budget, and I know we're going to hear from Roger as to a number of other things. Also just to express my commitment, I think Dave's done a fantastic job looking at how we compare apples to apples, and how we look at, here's what all-day kindergarten does, here's what this wireless does, which is a very important aspect that Roger will talk about. I think that, I'm just looking forward at the budget and saying, okay, we have this pending cost shift that may increase our expenditures here, and just expressing my commitment to continue to work with all of our administrators who I know are as committed to look at every area where we can spend wisely to ensure that we're able to keep that balanced budget farther out into the future, and that when we make reductions, they are the least possible impact to our students, and they really they help us continue on that forward course. So I, as a new board member, have spent many hours poring over this budget, and I'll continue to do so. And I appreciate all of the administrators who are helping and answering my questions, and who continue to impress me with their commitment towards doing fiscally responsible things and looking at things as closely as we can to ensure that we're really making responsible decisions and ensuring the future for our students.
I did have one more question. I know this is going to be for the superintendent. We touched upon it 2 weeks ago, as far as the fact that we have the potential for a $2.2 million hit to our property tax revenue from Edward Hospital. Now, I've been doing a lot of research, but I understand that you've been also having conversations. So I was wondering if you could give the board an update on where we are.
Sure. I'd be happy to provide you with a brief update. I think I'll be able to provide you a greater update at the June 3rd meeting, but I can certainly update you on some conversations that have taken place since we last met and talked about that impact to our budget. Most recently would be Dave and I on Monday of this week had an opportunity to meet with DuPage County Treasurer Gwen Henry to discuss options in terms of potential should the payment have to be withheld. How would that happen? Over the course of what time could it happen? So she explained to us how it would work, and I'll have Dave speak to that in a minute. But then also, I've continued to have conversations with representatives of Edward Hospital to fully understand, where they're at with this law and their expectation. I am expecting to have further conversation this week to go into greater detail about the impact of it and talk with them about how this will impact us and our budget as well as our taxpayers. So I'll have more to report back to you at the June 3rd. But Dave, do you want to talk a little bit about our meeting with Gwen Henry on Monday of this week?
Sure. We had Gwen Henry was there, as well as the Assistant County Clerk, Paul Hines. They were very helpful at helping us understand the process that this went into this determination for the tax exemption for Edward Hospital. As the treasurer explained to us, their regulations that are given to them by Springfield indicate that if there's a finding of this nature, they're required to have that refund within 30 days or as soon as funds are available to make that refund. And that would be for the first distribution of our property taxes, which we typically see about the middle of June to the third week of June. So I would anticipate that the entire amount will be withheld from that distribution to us, so the $2.235 million for that. They were helpful. They gave us some additional documents about explaining the process that went through with that, and we're looking to get some additional documents as well from the Department of Revenue in Springfield.
So, I'm happy to wait till June 3rd to address this some more, but I think it's worth a reminder that these funds are going to be coming out of our property tax revenue for this coming year, and it's not something that we got before, inappropriately or anything like that. It would be actually $2.2+ million that students would be losing. Okay, and so I'll look forward to another update.
Right. I think, and I appreciate you reminding the board and the community of that point. This is not an overcharge or an over levy of money that was taken in air. It's a change in a law regarding the property exempt status of the hospital that is going to require us to reimburse that money with no way of getting that money back. So that is lost money for us in a levy that was appropriately administered. So, right.
Susan. I have a question for you, Dave. You said that in the middle of June they'll take that out of our current payment, and I thought the understanding was that we had 3 years to pay the amount back. Or we had a time frame, should we choose it.
Sure.
I'll hit it in an overview, and if you want more detail, we did discuss that with Gwen Henry, and Gwen's interpretation of the statute and the law is that it cannot be done, that it must be done within the 30 days, that it cannot be spread in over time. So I can't speak to what arrangements it may have been made with other areas, but this is our treasurer's interpretation of what the law is, that it must be withheld within 30 days. So that is part of the conversation that I have had with Edward about options in terms of assuming that the treasurer does withhold that money as she believes she's required to by statute, what other options may exist in terms of an agreement with Edward. So that's what I'll continue to pursue and report back on June 3rd.
Okay. Thank you.
Could we look to some of the other areas that have done those successful 3-year arrangements and figure out, how they were able to utilize them? Because I think that's what a number of other areas have done. Or does that not give us much guidance?
I
think we have to follow the treasurer.
I think we have to follow the treasurer's analysis of what the statute is, and so I'll leave it at that.
Any other questions?
Yep, I just want to thank you, Dave, because I've been poring over the budget too and have an extensive list of questions, but I'm finding that I'm answering some of them as I get further and deeper, so I'm going to wait until I've digested it all to ask you. Thank you.
Dave, I have a question. I know it's come up from time to time. For some, what is the normal procedure, just so the community understands, if there's a petition for property taxes? What is the normal procedure that happens? How would you know? How would your department know of somebody that has a problem with their property tax, either the amount or that they're tax exempt or whatever? What would the normal case be, and how is this different in Edward Hospital's case?
Well, there'd be 3 major things that might have happened. One would be a request for an exemption. Another would be a request for a reduction in the assessment, and then a third might be a tax objection. In each of those instances, the school district is notified at the onset of that filing. For example, with a tax exemption, we receive a letter by statute from whoever is making that request. They go through a process then after that where they fill out a P-Tax 300 form. It goes to the county. County would make a recommendation to the Department of Revenue, and the Department of Revenue would make a determination of whether that entity might be tax exempt for property taxes. In this particular case, the 2007 filing was delayed on the decision because of the Department of Revenue being in a legal action with Pravina Hospital on a similar matter. They did not make a determination of that exemption until 2011 for the 2007 request. So that was a long 4-year interval before that was made. At that time, they did make a denial of the exemption. Edward made an appeal of that, and it was during the appeal process that the statute was changed, which made it what the kind of charitable source or kind of charitable giving that Edward was doing then qualified it for the exemption. So that's kind of what was going on in all of this, and we're hoping to get a few more documents to clarify the actual process that was gone through, but that's our understanding of it right now.
And I greatly appreciate your clarification. And just for the people that are here and for the viewers that are watching it, one of the distinctions I always make, it's not the prospective nature of this tax exempt statute, but it is the retrospective nature of it. We can't go back and get those taxes because this adjustment or this ruling has been made. So thank you for your work on this, and I too, as I'll echo Mike's comments, I look forward to the update. Thank you. Any other questions on budget issues before we move on? Okay.
I just also like to say I'm so glad that we're able to work together with Edward on this. They're going to be a long-standing community partner in the future, and I'm hopeful that Dan will be able to come to something that is beneficial to all parties.
Well, that's certainly that's our mode of operation, right? Is cooperation and partnership. So next agenda item is wireless upgrade recommendation.
Great. Dave Zager referred to this in his budget discussion and budget comments, that one of the significant one-time costs that we're recommending in the budget is a wireless network upgrade. And Roger Brunell, Chief Information Officer, I see Sue Canvas here, and I thought I saw Stephen earlier. But so the team will present to you background information regarding this recommendation and how it will support us and how it's necessary in some of the initiatives that we have coming forward. So, Roger, go ahead.
Okay. You'll notice that you're being passed around a pamphlet. What that contains in it is 2 packets. One is the presentation we'll be going through this evening, and the other anchors back to the student device strategy that we presented a month or 2 back. The reason we gave you hard copies is there is a lot of information in there that was not put in an electronic version, and also for the new board members that may not have seen this, you'll be able to refer to this at your fingertips if you have any questions or need clarification on both of these. These 2 strategies are tightly integrated and married together, so they play upon each other, so we figured we'd put them in one packet for you. Okay? Good evening. My name is Roger Brunell. I'm the Chief Information Officer for District 203, and tonight I'll be presenting with several of my colleagues. I have Dr. Jen Hester and Dr. Kate Foley, who will be participating from the remote locations at the back of the room, and Susan Camba, our Manager of Network Operations, who's sitting next to me to my left. Tonight we're going to take you through the rationale around the wireless network upgrade initiative that is included in this upcoming budget package proposal. And we want to make sure that we give you the information you need to understand this more thoroughly. The outcomes for this evening are, number 1, to share a little bit about the current state of our network, also define more detail around the holistic need to upgrade this network, go into some of the educational drivers that require this upgrade, highlight some of the limitations of our current network configuration, align this to the district network upgrade proposal with the overall device strategy that we went through with you earlier, and then seek your approval in concept, propose next steps, and the timeline. Sue?
This is a simplistic view of the district wireless network. Everyone is familiar with students and staff connecting up to the district wireless. What it allows them to do is to connect without being tethered to a wire. The most important thing about this slide is to notice the equipment that's behind the scenes, the stuff that you don't normally look at, or the plumbing of the network. This includes the wireless access points that you see in the ceilings, but also wireless controllers, servers, and firewalls. The current wireless network was installed in 2006, and it was installed to provide coverage throughout our buildings. That was the primary design purpose. Any place in the building, you should be able to connect up wirelessly to our network. We have about 600 wireless access points and about 50 wireless controllers. Our current system is no longer sufficient to support the current and future district needs. There's several reasons for that. The primary one is that device growth has quadrupled since we installed the wireless network. We've done no substantial increases to our network, our wireless network, since that time. The density is inadequate because of wireless-based streaming solutions. Students are streaming content to their devices. It requires more bandwidth, and our access points and controllers are not sufficient for them. Finally, the technology itself is out of date.
Anchoring back to the device strategy presentation, these next two slides come directly from that. In terms of what our wireless network is used for, it's used by students, staff, and visitors across the district to do several key things, and some of those are listed here. I'm not going to read those all. We've seen those before, but it has a wide variety of use, and it's pervasive across every building in the district. Okay. Also, it's used by many different types of devices: laptops, tablets, projectors, printers, wireless copiers, bring your own devices, e-readers, and guest devices of all different types use our wireless network to connect to our district solutions.
This slide shows the device counts for our district. In 2006, we had approximately 4,000 devices. At the start of the school year in 2013, we anticipate having 16,000 devices connecting. That's a 300% growth in devices with no increase in our wireless network infrastructure. This slide is important for you to understand. The right-hand side, the colorful graph, it shows classrooms at Scott School. There's 4 classrooms shown. They're divided up by a grid. In the center section of there, you'll see a green circle. That represents a wireless access point. The yellow section shows coverage that's very good for the 4 classrooms. The green sections is where the coverage, when you get further away from the access point, the coverage is not quite so good. This design allowed us to cover the entire building by putting them in centralized areas. At that time, we'd have maybe 20 students in all the classrooms in that pod of four connecting up. But now we're in a situation where we have 4 classrooms of students who are all trying to connect at the same time, up to 100 students trying to connect to a single access point. And that older access point is not sufficient. It's slower, and it would only support 25 connections.
In terms of where this network initiative sits in terms of our strategies going forward, it's the foundation. It's foundational to everything we laid out when we proposed the student device strategy, things like expanding bring your own device, taking our older 5-year-old systems and deploying them as web systems and using them for access to applications and things like park testing, the continued migration to digital content, and I'm sure Jen and Kate will touch on that. The growth and proliferation of software-based assessments like park assessments, and then any increase in device ratios, including potentially piloting one-to-one. Seeing one-to-one at the top of this period does not mean that we're going there next year, but it means that we'll certainly look to increase ratios and inevitably take a look at piloting and what that looks like in the district. But without the network infrastructure, none of those things will be possible.
Some of the implications of the current state. Students and staff are having connectivity problems, and it's disrupting their learning. The buildings are not able to add additional devices per the district device strategy, and also access to some of the applications and tools that we use, they're being compromised because of disconnects and contention for access. Finally, the district is not going to be able to meet the requirements of park testing with our current wireless network. I mentioned students are having trouble with disconnects. Students and staff, they call it denial of service connections because too many devices are trying to connect up to a single access point. This is a printout that we get from one of our tools, one of our network monitoring tools. It happens to be from Kennedy Junior High School, and it's showing over a 4-day period the number of clients that are trying to connect and oversubscribe to a single access point. You can see that there's up to 37 devices trying to connect up to an access point, and it's causing problems for our students. In addition, because we're using video-rich content now, this problem it becomes even worse. This is another slide that we put together. It shows for Mill Street Elementary School, over a 1-week period, the number of threshold violations or errors for a single access point. You can see there were up to 100 errors on one access point in a single day. This is not just happening at Mill Street School or just happening at Kennedy. That just happens to be the ones that we're highlighting here for you.
While there are certainly technical rationale for this upgrade, there are even more importantly educational drivers for performing this upgrade. And Dr. Hester, Dr. Floyer are going to speak on that.
Thank you, Roger. There's been a few areas where the digital landscape has expanded exponentially, and that's changed the way students are learning, and it also changes how we are supporting them.
So our students are already learning through digital content, and they're also demonstrating their learning through digital means. But what we'd like the opportunity to do in the future is to be more responsive to this need and provide them with more support for that digital learning. Our students are also, as you know, using devices as tools to learn, and the need for that just continues to increase for us. So what we hope is to become more innovative with opportunities for computer adaptive testing. We would really like the opportunity for our students to move toward engaging with content through dynamic digital resources instead of just engaging with one-dimensional paper resources.
When you think about the applications highlighted there, assistive technology, the implications for students on IEPs or individual education programs or Section 504, that has really changed the way students are not only accessing their learning, the platform in which they're interacting, and the product that they are creating so they can demonstrate their learning. Some of the other things that have really changed, and a big educational driver, has to do with how the learning management system is being used throughout our district. An example, earlier last year, we talked about the new IEP system, the TINET system, and that has intranet that is web-based. So staff are using it not only for students on IEPs, but health, student information system, how it's being reported to the state, and the reimbursement process as well. Just to give you an example of how web-based applications are where we are right now, which is the educational driver. We have students who, for a variety of reasons, need to utilize technology. Text-to-speech while reading and writing notes, voice notes, embedded teacher notes with bubble sticky notes to support reading comprehension, word prediction, audible and visual access to web pages, picture dictionaries, talking graphics. It's changed the way students now are learning.
So I'd like to add on to that a need for our teachers, and that's for an application for curriculum housing. Now that doesn't mean that we can't use one of the current applications that we have. Currently our teachers have their curriculum stored mostly on SharePoint, and a lot of that has either migrated to binders or it's migrated to maybe the hard drive on their computer. So we'd like the opportunity to explore either our current application so we can have teachers access their curriculum digitally, or the opportunity to explore applications that we might not have at this time. Another thing that we'd really like the opportunity to do is to do a better job with asset and resource management. So we consider all of the books, or whether it's digital content, or all of the curriculum resources that are out at the schools. One of the things we wonder is how can we manage that better through technological resources, and how can we respond to teachers' needs more quickly with those resources.
And finally, the cloud-based productivity tools. This is where, again, Canvas, our web-based math programs for various learners, not just the students with special needs, our advanced learners. It's really changing the trajectory of how students are learning. And the collaboration with the IT department has just been invaluable from the standpoint of meeting our current needs, addressing the gaps that we have and some of the frustrations that happen with the connectivity going. And I can't say enough. I know we really value that partnership. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll go to the next slide, please. This slide may look familiar to those of you who saw the student device strategy. The thing that's changed is the little green circle in the middle now says wireless network strategy as opposed to student devices. But if the way this works is that the blue clouds represent things that are part of the core district strategy and some of the things that help us deliver our educational services. The red things are things that could be happening imposed by an outside entity or some other force within the industry or changes in government regulations or things that we have to respond and react to. But if you put all that together, they're all involved in playing how we create our wireless and our device strategy. I won't go through these because I think we've touched on almost all of these already in this presentation. Okay. After this upgrade, if approved, I can tell you this network will be pervasive, elastic, and consistent. It will provide robust connectivity to the solutions that we've described and a consistent connectivity experience. It is a significant leap from where we are today in terms of technical capability. We'll be able to access media-rich content at quite high levels of performance. I'll give you an example. When Sue talked about the access points being able to take on 20 connections at the same time, the ones we're looking at are upwards of 70. And with some of the newer network technologies, which are called AC certified technologies that we are hoping to get with this, it's going to up the throughput significantly, almost quadruple it. And so those are really good things and really position us well to scale to increase the demands and the growth. I also want to make sure I stress the point that while this is basic foundational plumbing, this is not a one-time investment that we will never be back for again. The useful life of these technologies is 5. The current one has lasted 7 years. However, this project, the amount that Dave had mentioned, is combined of equipment portion and a labor portion. About 44% of that is the labor to pull cables to put an access point in every single classroom in the district. So every single classroom will have an access point in that classroom. That's a one-time cost, and that cable should last quite a long time. I can't guarantee that at some point in the future down the road, new technologies will make even that cable needing a replacement. But I can tell you we're going to get a really good run if we do this upgrade, and we're going to be able to enable a lot of the things that you just heard about. Okay.
So this slide should look familiar to you. This is now showing what it's going to look like after an upgrade. There'll be a wireless access point in each one of the classrooms. Whether you have one classroom full of students connecting or you have 4 classrooms, they'll all be able to connect up to the internet to get their content or connect to in-house applications.
This is one of the final slides, and it outlines what we've done to date and our next steps. To be proactive about this, we certainly knew we would need budget approval as part of this budget cycle and budget discussions. However, that didn't stop us from going to a full RFP back in February and March. We just told the vendors it was contingent upon Board of Education agreed funding, and they were very excited to work under those premises and have responded well. We evaluated proposals in March and April. We are actually down to 2 finalists at this point, have not begun negotiations, nor will we do so without formal approval. But then we presented the rationale to District Administrative Cabinet in April. We've been partaking in the budget discussions. This has been an item for quite some time in the budget discussions. And tonight we're presenting the rationale to the Board of Education. We're looking for Board of Education budget approval as part of the budget process, after which we'll negotiate aggressively and notify the selected vendors in June. And we intend to pick up this project and start immediately July 1st and get into the schools with the cabling that's needed. The next slide shows the perceived timeline that we'll operate under. The green line is where we're at right now. It's a little bit of an eye chart, but we've streamed this over 1 year to have this done within a 1 year time frame. And Sue's going to take us through why we put certain schools first in the order that we picked.
So the Phase 1 schools include both high schools, which have high need for connectivity, as well as Kennedy Junior High. Kennedy was chosen because it's one of the schools that's having the most problems with wireless right now. They're all having problems, don't misunderstand me, but Kennedy's is even worse than everyone else's. The next group of schools, we chose the remaining junior highs, Kingsley School, because they've got a lot of one-to-one initiatives that they're talking about trying. Prairie and Beebe are also having connectivity problems, so they're in our next group of schools. Phase 3 schools, again, are having the next worst connectivity problems. And finally, our last group of schools, Phase 4, it includes the remainder of the schools, followed at the end by the administrative buildings, PSAC, the stadium, print shop, and transportation.
If you match this up to the timeline in the device strategy, you'll see that this matches up to the network upgrade proposed that we had there, and also everything that trickles past that is based on this exact timeline, so it kind of ties together and aligns. With that, we're open up for taking questions.
So if I can just, before you do that, so just to make sure that the board understands, we're not seeking action tonight. First of all, it's under discussion without action, but also we wouldn't be coming back for separate action on this. This is something that we're proposing as a part of a budget. So as we continue our budget conversations, your approval would come with accepting the budget as presented. So,
just a question for you. With the recent upgrades, like at Naperville North and at Naperville Central, I mean, Terry, do you remember how many miles of wire we pulled at that point? I mean, it was
3.
3 miles?
No, probably by 300 or 400 miles.
I don't know. We had a number, and I was just curious. Like, how do you plan for the next phase so that as we were building Central, or as we upgrade other things in our schools, and the ceilings are out of them, because we're always doing something. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have all these aging facilities. How can we plan better to kind of get that stuff done at the same time?
I think from a wireless network, there's a lot of components here, but the wireless network component. Once we have a cable in every ceiling in every classroom, unless we add physical classrooms or disrupt the number of classrooms, we really won't need to go back in there unless we upgrade that cabling down the road. And so we're kind of acting on this. We could have probably, when Central was built, moved ahead and put cable in every classroom. That would have significantly upgraded the cost of that project at that time. And the coverage that was needed at that time in the current network that was installed was right-sized for the applications that were in use. It's the adoption of the web-based tools and the streaming and the density that has just gone off the wire in this district. And we really, that's what we need to do. So I don't know if it's planning better, but I can tell you that once we have that in every classroom, we're going to be in pretty good shape.
I'm just amazed how it changes how the kids learn. Just, things like studying for finals, rather than writing out flashcards, they're working on, conjugation on web-based applications. It's like, do your homework, get off the computer. It's like, no, I am doing it, truly. It's like, and you're like sneaking up over their shoulder to see it. It's like, they really are doing that. And there's like, we didn't have enough conductivity. I mean, that's like a word they use all the time.
It is. And let me just reiterate, and we've said this before, we're not about pushing technology for technology's sake here.
Right.
I mean, the partnership that our colleagues mentioned is alive and well, and we will do things only when aligned, when enabling the educational aspects. And we also pick, I would say, prudent times to invest. You'll see us not come to you a year ago asking for this because we hadn't reached critical mass. We are at about critical mass now, and I wouldn't be here asking for this if we weren't there. This is the right time to make this investment.
So, just going back, the technology upgrades we did at Central just matched what we had at the district at the time we did the renovation. This is going to equalize the district across the board, right? That's our goal
From
here.
From a wireless perspective, absolutely.
Yeah. So if we had put it in at Central, we've been a little ahead of the game. Probably not the best choice. You want to keep everything on an even par as much as possible.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point.
The cable itself, and what version of cable are you using? Do you know?
Cat 5e.
Cat
and
5e.
For the new stuff, we're still discussing Cat 5e, but we're going to have a discussion to make sure we don't need to do Cat 6.
Yeah,
But 5e, they're saying is sufficient for us.
Would Cat 6 be something better in the high schools? Because the streaming and so forth and the data usage goes up at that level, pretty dramatically. If we're going to go into the bring your own device and so forth, I mean, just at home, I had to upgrade our own wireless network. It was 3 years old, put in a new one to get higher speed because all my kids have a device. And They like to play games and so forth, chews up a lot of data. And so there'll be games and so forth that the students will play.
And you'll be buying an AC router soon for your home
I know
too.
it's already taxed.
Right.
I can tell, mine's fairly large. But my own computer now is getting taxed with what they're doing. So is it worth?
We're going to look at the cost differential and
and I realize it's significant between Cat 5 and Cat 6.
Could be.
It could be $100,000.
It could be.
Yeah.
And the other thing we're going to look at is, since we're in these ceilings anyway, especially at Naperville North, where they have an aging bell and paging system, it's not digital. If we can, while they're in the ceilings, run 2 cables, one for the paging system at the same time, and it's not that unbelievably much more costly, we're going to look at killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Because you're opening those ceilings once. We haven't talked to the cabling companies yet to get that cost differential.
Well, I think that's wise, but I also think it's, you're right on track, and I think anybody who works in the technology industry would tell you that the cable is really what you need to focus on first. The devices themselves are always going to be upgraded. They wear out, they break, and so forth. You got to put the right backbone in, and that is a lot of cost and labor. It's a lot of labor time to get up in those ceilings and pull the cable. To do it again twice in 3 or 4 years doesn't make a lot of sense either.
Right.
So if you're going to make a decision, and I've had these discussions with a lot of times, $100,000 over 4 years is not a lot of money, and it will probably, it would save us more than that in future costs.
We're certainly looking at that.
Okay.
Since we're still negotiating, I want to be a little bit close to the vest.
Yes, I understand. I understand. You're just a wise man.
I don't want to.
Yes, wise man.
Yep.
You never know. Everybody wants to watch this presentation. Any other questions on the technology side?
So I think you said that the longevity of this was 5 years. Is that right, you said?
Well, we've got the existing one, and we're on our 7th year, and we're now bursting at the seams. Traditionally, technology investments of this type right down after 5 to 7 years.
Okay.
Cable, you can get longer out of, especially if you go with the top end and the leading edge cables type of thing. But yeah, we're looking at 5 to 7 years. However, when we come back and we replace access points, we won't most likely have to replace the cable.
Right.
And we probably will be able to handle those access point refresh out of our normal operating budget and not have to come back and ask for a large sum of money like this. Because we have those maintenance things built in. Part of our negotiations are making sure we have access to the newest technologies, the AC version. Right. And if we don't get those day one, we'll get a very attractive migration path, let me just say that, to that technology, but we may get it day one.
Well, I just want to reiterate what Terry said, that if it's more cost effective to go a little bit higher now so that we can not do 2.1 million, in 5 years, maybe that would be good. And then also, I had a question with you said the growth in devices, I think, was 300%. How did I see that we were 2 to 1 right now? Is that the ratio that we're at?
And that's going to be in the second half of that presentation. Okay. We are going to 2 to 1 this year. And that's by an influx of those web systems that we're creating that basically are a district version of like a Google Chromebook. And also the mix of devices changed, so there are more things like iPad streaming in. So for the same money, you can get more devices. And that's without BYOD. We'll be at 2 to 1 as a district, even without BYOD, which after this upgrade, we can start picking up BYOD again at the high schools. And so we will be at 2 to 1.
So if we continue to push towards 1 to 1, is your new network going to be able to handle that?
The way the math works is what we figured is every student in every classroom could have 3 devices all connecting at the same time on their body.
Thank you.
Not all three could be streaming live video content simultaneously. Right. But the problem is when you just walk into a room, your device automatically searches and tries to connect. Takes up a port on those access points. We're going on the assumption each classroom up to 60, 70 connections simultaneously. So
I did see that from the 20 to the 70.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
I have another quick question. I remember, and maybe it's still on the website, I just haven't seen it in a while, there used to be places where you could buy your own devices.
Right.
And is that still on there?
The eBuy 203 program, it's still there. Some of the vendors have not re-upped or continued that arrangement. And we've also have not seen a lot of purchases through that program. And so if you looked at the value of it, most people that want to buy a home computer, they tend to look at the lower range models. What a lot of the models we had out there were business class models that we use. They weren't your $200 machine you can get at a retail store, let's just say that. And so it's still there. It's still there for the software in a big way, so you can get the software discounts on there.
It'd be such a nice thing to offer as the kids graduate, and you really are looking for new devices for the kids to send them off to college.
And one of the cooperations I know, at least with Apple, they offer a discount to any of the students in 203 when they go off to college. So it's kind of a nice. The colleges offer discounts too. So
you'll also see an incredible deal coming up through the district on Microsoft Office Suite, where staff will be able to acquire that suite for their own use at an unbelievably low price, and I'm talking less than $20. And we'll be announcing that in the near future.
Awesome. It's just something I hadn't heard communicated in a long time.
Yeah,
so.
it kind of lost a little steam in terms of traction and the amount of people that bought on that site.
Any other questions on the wireless recommendation, upgrade and recommendation?
Thanks for your presentation.
So much. And again, it was the thought to bring this into our meeting now while there was still.
You referenced the second half of that. Is that another presentation?
We are.
After the tab is the other presentation.
This evening?
No, it's a presentation
We
that had
had
been given at a previous board meeting.
We
so
had a previous board meeting. It was for the new members.
provide this as background for the new board.
There's survey results review that we put in there and all the other data.
Great, thank you so much. And again, there won't be a separate vote on this. This is, again, part of the budget process. And once we get the approval of the overall budget process, Roger and his staff can, the timeline's there. So pressure's on. Next item on our agenda is action of the NUEA contract. So I think we have a brief presentation.
Brief presentation and overview. And I'm going to begin and then turn it over to, I think Dave is next, and then Carol. I'm looking back at Mark Bailey and Carol Higgins, who are still here. And they came forward earlier to speak about the spirit of collaboration and positive working relationship that are existent at this time between the NUEA, its members, the administration, and the Board of Education. I, too, would like to echo that. That the process in terms of coming to what's being brought before the Board of Education tonight has been done in a spirit of cooperation and has been done in a very professional and collegial manner over the course of this late winter and spring. So I'm pleased to bring before the Board of Education on behalf of the administration's bargaining team the tentative agreement and overview of the contract that we're proposing for action and your approval this evening. So some of the key goals for the bargaining going into it was a contract that represented a fair contract and recognized the professional contributions of our teaching staff, but was also fiscally responsible. Taking a look at salary, schedule, and compensation and recognizing professional development and mastery. In other words, the significant work, as Mark spoke to specifically, of the Career 203 team, previously known as the Committee for Professional Innovation. Cleaning up some of the contract language issues that were of interest to both the NUEA as well as the Board of Education, and work out some process agreements. So I'm going to turn it over now to Dave to kind of hit through some of the highlights.
Sure. A number of financial portions of the contract were negotiated, as you might imagine. The district has a local retirement enhancement in the current contract. In the first 2 years of this succeeding contract, that will still be available, but it will no longer be available in the third year of that contract and then in succeeding contracts after that. Our salary increases continue to be linked to CPI as a percentage of CPI, as they have in the past contract. This gives us an enhanced ability to meet our needs with the revenue that we're allowed to have through the state, both the state and our property taxes that we have. The structure of the salary schedule, which includes steps and then compensation across professional development, is changed in response to the Career 203 that was put into place. The district will no longer subsidize the early retirement option should that be continued through the state statutes. And the cost to the taxpayer when you roll in all of these changes as far to the financial package is about a 2% increase in annual salary that would be reflected within our budget. Every year, or twice a year, we do a financial projection for the board, and in our budget we have a financial projection. This agreement is in line with that financial projection, and in fact, when I put it into it, we actually extend out our budgets by about 1 year where we would have balanced budgets. So at this point, assuming all other assumptions hold in place, we'd anticipate that we would have balanced budgets for the next 7 years. If there is a pension cost shift, and again, that's under consideration by the General Assembly as early as this week, we would probably bring that back by 1 year, that I would anticipate that we'd have balanced budgets for about 6 years with that kind of a cost shift. As far as specifics for the agreement, the first year is a 2.35% increase in the base, which is 78% of the 3% CPI that we had in 2011. Year 2 is a 1.14% increase in the base, which is equal to 2/3 of the CPI for 2012. That was 1.7% for 2012. And then in year 3, it will again be 2/3 of the CPI. And of course, we do not know yet what the 2013 CPI is. I think Carol's going to take the next few slides.
Some key elements to the new contract are that obviously we're implementing Career 203, which is the new professional development model that we've been working on, as Mark said and Dana said, for the last 3 years. Career 203 will allow educators to create individualized career paths and access professional development opportunities within the model, which we refer to as BRICS. The Career 203 encourages professional mastery, offers choice, and a variety of professional growth opportunities. And what is unique is that it will recognize the educator's career aspirations. And we believe, taking into consideration all of that, it will foster recruitment and retention. Another key feature of the contract is that the current STEP system will sunset after Step 6 for bachelor's level educators, with no new staff entering Step 7 in the bachelor's lanes. Career 203 will be implemented July 1st, 2013, which will enable our tenured staff with a master's degree pardon me, to begin to access professional development opportunities that will further increase our ability to meet the needs of all of our students. A few language clarifications. The new contract aligns the reduction in force process with the state regulations. And the IPC committee has been renamed and redefined, and it will be a collaborative committee between the NUEA and the administrators to bring forth and discuss matters of mutual concern. Our committee will meet quarterly to work and resolve issues brought forth by either party, and may make recommendations to the Board of Education and Association to modify the agreement or past practice. And finally, an ad hoc committee will be created consisting of 8 members, 4 members of the NUEA and 4 members selected by the Board of Education. And the purpose will be to explore and generate multiple options to revise the current parent-teacher conference structure. And the idea would be to present these options to the calendar committee for final decision no later than December 1st, 2013, for consideration of the 2015-16 school calendar.
I will ask for a motion in a second, and then we'll have discussion after that. So, I'm going to take a motion for action on the NUEA agreement 10.01.
I move approval of the NUEA agreement as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second on the action on the NUEA agreement 10.01. Discussion. Questions? Terry.
Okay. Well, I think this negotiation process went very well. I mean, if you look back earlier in the school year, there were several strikes in other districts and so forth. And for the third straight contract, we've been able to avoid those issues and intelligently negotiate good deals that are going to benefit the community and also benefit the teachers. And I think it's a statement to both the teachers union and to the Naperville School District, the management that we have installed to handle these issues, that we're on the right track and we're really setting the trend for other districts to follow. And I know that's going to continue in the future. This committee is going to do a great job for both our students and our teachers, and hopefully we'll be able to lead the way in the state and show everybody else how it should be done.
I think the most exciting part of this whole contract is the Career 203. I mean, that is groundbreaking. And, you know, when you look at our logo and it says world class, and you always wonder what does that define? What does that mean? It feels like when you're in the grocery store, it says natural. You just never know what it means. And when you see things like this and what we can do and how that will affect our students long term and how we're looking to really capitalize on that for our students with our teachers, and it's a partnership. And that's what it is. It's a partnership, a collaborative partnership with our teachers, with our students, with our families, with the community, and it's just something that I think is incredibly exciting, that's groundbreaking, that we'll be offering coming forward. And I think, we always say our goal is to attract and retain just really incredible teachers. And I think this is going to draw even more incredible teachers to us.
Well, as a new member, I was not involved in the substantive and lengthy process of negotiations. So coming in with the agreement there, I think though that though both sides have made compromises, it represents a fair and responsible compromise that recognizes the value of our district's teachers, as well as is financially responsible for the community. I agree with Susan. It's recognizing that we're a partnership, and it highlights how important it is to work collaboratively to move towards the future and set the course for the future together. A couple things to also highlight. I also have to second the Career 203, looking at the inadequate or the limitations of current measures to really move to rewarding professional development, rewarding initiative, and looking at something that's going to have an impact on our students. And I think that that's a very positive part of it. I agree that it's quite progressive. I think the other area that we are also setting ground is with regard to the elimination of the retirement enhancements. Like anyone in Illinois, I think we have a greater sense of urgency on that issue, and I think we've moved ahead of other communities in ensuring that we are putting our resources towards our teachers and developing their professional development instead of incentivizing them to leave the system in a way that could be unsustainable. So I think that we have done that. We've worked together. I think that's an incredibly important and positive change. And given the positive nature, I would have even liked to see it happen sooner. But I think what we've done in this agreement is we have worked with all the parties together to set the course for the future and a positive course. And I look forward to continued work in all the things that we have highlighted here in terms of the things where we're going to need to continue to do that, and I look forward to continuing to do that with all parties.
Yep, I'll make a quick comment. I've had a number, I, like Kristen, have not been involved in the process at all, but have had a number of teachers over the last week thank me as they ran into me at different events, and so I just need to make sure that's clear. I did not have any thanks offered, but I do want to thank Dave and Carol for their endless efforts, and Mark Bailey and the union for their efforts, because I think what we have is a win-win-win for the students, the teachers, and the community. So thank you.
I also just real quickly wanted to commend and thank both the negotiating teams who put a lot of hours in this. I know they even met on weekends. They certainly worked on weekends. It was a lot of effort, but what I love is, as certain people have said, in the end, they put the future of the district and the education of our students first, while still protecting their constituents and their supporters. So I'm very proud of everybody. And I love the way Terry said it. It's not always that smooth in every district. Since I've been fortunate enough to be on the board, I think we've had either 7 or 8 fiscally responsible contracts that were supported by their respective memberships by very large majorities. And I think that speaks so much of the culture that this board, this administration, and our predecessors, along with our staff members, have set up in this community and this district. And I'm just very proud and humbled to be part of it. Thank you.
I have been through some contracts here in the district, and one that ended at 1:30 in the morning with students hoping that they could go to school in the morning. And it was, I think, I didn't imagine or understand what would be the direct opposite of that, but I realize now that this is the direct opposite of that. Before the school year ends, we have a contract, a process that was constructive, cooperative, informative, that moved us forward in exciting ways. I keep in mind that we saw communities that I would have never anticipated would strike. Highland Park, Lake Forest, Chicago, although many are surprised by that. But it is, this is truly something unique and special and indicative of a relationship that I dearly hope we continue to move forward and to build on to do exciting things for our students. I am so proud of our teachers and our administrators and our negotiating team. I'm so pleased at how they represented our community, and I am delighted to be able to support this when we vote. I think that this is just really terrific.
And I think I'm the last one to speak. And for people that haven't been involved in this process, it is, and don't come from a negotiating background. I sat, this is the 8th bargaining contract I've been a part of, this one tonight. And sitting through this 3 years ago with the NUEA, I thought nothing could get better. You know, there was a continuing professional innovation committee that was put together that I thought was so innovative. And we, on the financial side, finally there was an idea to match revenues with expenses. So, we're always a little unsure of what the revenues are that are coming in, but then we had the teacher salaries that are now tied to the Consumer Price Index, which was groundbreaking at the time. So I went into this contract thinking, how can we even get that close to the greatness we got 3 years ago? And we got better because we have the most supportive and highly professional groups that are working on this. I can't say enough about it. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to be able to support this contract. And I just want to thank everyone for their contributions, their long hours, and echo what my colleagues have said. It is a very difficult and it's a very difficult and arduous process that both sides handled very, very professionally. So kudos to everyone in the room that was a part of it, and many of you are here. So thank you. And with that, I will, there goes my, yeah, hold on one second. I'm going to get my, sorry, he went to sleep. Anyhow, we had on 8.4, I just want to clarify, this is a big deal. Agenda item number 10.01, we had a motion and a second for action on the NUEA agreement. And Ms. Bell, if you can call the vote, please.
Robert?
Yes.
Fielden?
Yes.
Waukee?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Crotty?
Yes.
Yench?
Aye.
Fitzgerald? Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Awesome work. Awesome work. Thank you, everyone. And we have one, let's see, we have a couple of other things in new business that we want to talk about and I'll let Dan kick this off in a second. Board representative process. From time, I'll let Dan.
Yeah, sure. If you don't mind, I'll maybe talk about the other. I was going to talk about this earlier in reports, but certainly, just on behalf of the administration, I know the board too. Our thoughts and prayers are with the victims and those that are touched by the tragedies and the disasters in Oklahoma. And even personally, as part of our Mid-States Benchmarking Consortium, one of the school districts is Edmond, Oklahoma. David Goen, I was in contact with actually earlier this week on Monday when they had experienced a tornado, and he indicated one of them was just 0.2 miles away from one of their elementary schools. But fortunately, for him in his district, they weren't touched in much the way that Moore was in other parts of Oklahoma. So we do pass on our thoughts, our condolences, our prayers, and well wishes to the individuals touched by that. But it's tragedies like this that often cause us to have pause and think a moment about. We certainly, unfortunately, can't prevent natural tragedies like a tornado, but are we prepared to respond, and do we drill and do we practice? So we thought we'd just take a minute just to make sure that the board understands, and as well as the community, our drill process, our drill practice, that those processes are in place. We have an annual plan in place to be able to drill and prepare students in the event that such a unimaginable tragedy occurs. So I think Kitty Ryan's going to kick this off for us, and Bob Ross will help out in any way that is needed.
Thanks, Mr. Bridges. We certainly do have a process in place, and it begins with certainly compliance. We want to make sure that we're in compliance with all that the DuPage ROE requires us to do, and we have a series of notifications from them, and about what we need to do for drills. And so we always ensure that we're in compliance by notifying our schools of what those are. In addition to that, we meet with our fire and police department every year to review those practices and always determine what additionally we can do to ensure that our students are safe. But more than compliance, safety for our students is our #1 priority. And so we do all that we can to make sure that we go on to compliance and review practices and review actual events. And each time we do have an emergency in our district, each time we do have an event, we use that as an occasion to do some debriefing and processing on what happened, how was it handled by the district, what went well, what should we have done additionally, and what can we do additionally. Each year, each one of our schools reports to us and tells us what drills they conducted, when they conducted those drills, and also keeps in contact with us each time they have a situation requiring any additional support from central office. So we feel confident that in an emergency we would respond as effectively, as efficiently, and as promptly as we needed to.
And unfortunately, some of the tragedies that our nation has experienced this year, between Newtown and now what we're experiencing in Oklahoma, is an unfortunate reminder for our students and our staff and our communities that these drills need to be taken seriously.
Yes.
And that they are an important thing that we do practice, and that we do rehearse in the event that the unfortunate may occur, that our students and our schools are prepared. So the only message I would ask for our community and our parents is to continue to emphasize the importance of when those drills are scheduled and when they do occur, that your students are taking them seriously, as I know they have been and continue to do so. So with that, unless there's any specific questions, we just wanted to kind of get that quick update in there as it was timely.
Right. And I think, too, the drills are certainly necessary, and I remember, I think it was earlier this year, one of our elementary schools, there was a dangerous situation at the beginning of the school day, and of course our students and our staff did not let us down. Those students all went to a feeder school, which is all planned in advance, and what was one of the junior high schools. They all went there for whatever the time period was till it was safe for them to come back. So it gives me a lot of comfort to know that the drills are great, but then when the practical situation happens, they're always ready for it, because these drills really did work and were effective.
The drills are effective, and but they're really only a small part of what we do to prepare our schools for emergencies. As tragic as this tornado was, and it certainly was, and as much as it brings us to our mind, to these kinds of events to our mind, it's not because of this event that we're ready. We are ready all the time, and drills are only one small slice of what we do.
Right. And I think the real message here is to the community that's listening, that these to bring it to their awareness tonight.
Right.
So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
The second item, the one that is on there, is board representative process. I thought this was the appropriate time, with a new president, a new vice president, a couple new board members, to ensure that the process that we will use, we're constantly, and not constantly, we're regularly asked for a representative of the Board of Education, representative of administration, someone on staff to represent the district in various functions and at various events. The process that we have used in past would be we would ask the board president to if there was an assignment to be made, and I'd like to suggest that continue to be the process, or be the process that upon those requests for board representative, if it's an administrative request, I'll appoint those, or I'll request an administrator to attend, and that just confirm with the Board of Education that our process would be that we'd notify the president of the Board of Education, who would then assign or request a board representative. And so if there's any discussion that needs to be had, otherwise that's the process we'll continue to use.
And I would just like to mention, I think what happens from time to time, there are welcomes and speaking engagements, and we try to share the love a little bit. If there's somebody that's worked in for example, you've worked with Home and School and School Family Partnership, it doesn't have to be Terry or myself that would have to go. There's board representatives, and we'll get to all that this summer, assignments and all. And if I can just clarify, we have things that come up in between board meetings, so there's not a chance to really talk about who to assign and what to assign. And I bring to reference the Triple I conference at once a year that we have for the school board in the associations, whereby we pick a delegate, and that delegate goes and speaks for our board. And Terry's done that the last couple of years, and we kind of know what's going to be spoken about. Well, we have other things that have come up, like this charter school, and I think you heard Susan's comment. She went. We want to make it. I'm interested, as well as Terry is interested in making this a process, so that we're talking from the district talking points and the board talking points, and that we have a process, and then a process for that person, whomever it might be, to be able to come back and report to the board. So I just like to open it up for discussion, what everyone's thoughts are, if that makes sense. So we put everybody to sleep.
No. Well, I think the challenge is when you're local, and for local government, wherever you go, you're a board member. So any of those dancing on tables you were planning on doing, ladies, that's the end of that. But you're a board member, so you're always representing the district. You're going to get asked questions at the grocery store. So for specific events, I mean, there are things that you're going to. There's recognition. So or they want a board member there. We work those things out. But certainly, in relationship to legislative, to talking to our legislators, is certainly something that I think we should all feel free to do. We seem to be on board with what's going on here, no pun intended, and we should absolutely feel free to do that. And I think we should be out there talking with our legislators and our legislation about what's going on and representing our school district in that way. So just on the official things, it's a matter of who can be available. That
Right.
communication's usually been by email. Frequently we've had opportunities to volunteer if somebody can make it. I know there's lots of times with busy schedules that there really is one of us. I mean, you think everybody would be clamoring to go to something, and we are, but we've got kids and family and work responsibilities that come in the way. So it's nice that there's 7 of us, because sometimes there's only one of us who can be there.
Terry?
And I think what Jackie's getting to is more of the point of informing the board what might be said. And we could do that backwards through Dan. If we can find somebody to appoint, but also kind of collectively agree on what the board's position might be on that. And he can at least inform of discussions that wants to be said by a board member at a public function, would go to Jackie and to Dan, and they can vet it through and then get it to all of us, so we would know in between meetings as things are being said. And I agree that we should always be applying pressure to our legislators on what's going on. We should be calling them almost daily on what we want, and keeping them in line, because that's both good government. Being a board member, we don't have an opportunity to sidestep issues. We have to make decisions. Other branches of government can defer action for periods of time. We cannot. We always have to move forward, and we can't lose sight of that, and we always need the community's input with that as well.
We're very lucky to have legislators who we can run into at places as well.
Right.
So
And are very receptive.
we're making their presence now.
I think there's it's always helpful to share information that you get, and there's a difference between like informal conversations and when you're going and testifying and really and I think that if you have information to share, always great, and I think it's always good to continue to develop the relationships that are informal, and I'm glad that we have great relationships with our legislators. And then as we have more like the event that Susan went to, where it's a very important event, and it might be worth, circulating something that's more, that really tells everybody what happened, and is more of a meeting report, so that would be something different.
Michael?
The only thing I'd like I guess, reinforce is because I don't think we've had a problem with this at all.
We haven't.
And well, what I'm about to talk about specifically is, when we do talk to groups, legislators, neighbors, whatever, there is, for me at least, and I think for everybody, there's an important distinction between, hey, this is my opinion on this, and this is what we think, and that we has had to have been part of a public discussion in an open meeting before we can go out and say this is what we think. So I don't think it's been a problem, but the difference between we and I becomes really important because, as Susan points out, we're board members. We represent the district, but we have to be careful what we say when we represent the district. We can't. We have to be very vigilant that our personal opinion doesn't become the de facto message of the school board. And like I said, I think it hasn't been a problem, but I think that's one of the things that we need to keep on reminding ourselves.
Just seemed in terms of transition, it was the appropriate time to make sure that we revisited the issue, or the topic, not the issue. Thanks.
No, I think it's a very important topic, the we and the I and the we and the me part of this. And as the requests come in, we'll have to identify it at the time, identify the best person, but the talking points, it will be a message from the district. So just, again, because we have new people and new positions. So thank you. And this brings us to a schedule of events. You'll notice on schedule of events, one of our last topics tonight, 1301, it has been populated with many, many things through the end of the year. And thank you, everyone collectively who have done that. It really, really is helpful. Highlight again, we only have board meetings when school is in session. So if school is off on a Monday, it would revert to a Tuesday board meeting. I say that because this is our only Wednesday board meeting of the entire year. Maybe never again, depending on how the graduations fall. But take a read through there. And I think it has been the tradition, so the new board members know we get the evites, so they automatically get updated on your calendar, which is so wonderful. Thank you, administrators, for all that. And
can I call attention to one in there before Mrs. Carlson does as she normally would? Just a reminder that Future Focus is coming up June 12th and June 13th. The evening of June 12th, the Naperville Central Cafeteria from 7 till 9. And on Thursday morning at Grace Church from 8:30 to 10:30, the focus will be on finances.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So we come to the part of the evening where I'll entertain a motion. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. Yeah, I forgot. I need a motion to go back into closed session for, hold on one second. Yeah, hold on one second. I'm just trying to, where is it? My contact just went on me here. 2.04 for litigation when there's an action affecting on or a behalf of a particular district.
2.02.
And also the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance of dismissal of a specific employee. And I think I can add there's nothing that we're going to have nothing that's we're going to have for the public that's going to come out of these this second closed session this evening. Motion?
So moved. Second?
And
Do we have to vote?
it's a group one, right?
Roll call.
Roll call? Okay.
Anytime we go in closed session.
Roll call.
Robert?
Yes.
Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Watkey?
Yes.
Yench?
Aye.
Prady? Yes. Price?
Yes.
Fielden?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. And thank you, everyone. Do you need these now?